This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. As Election Day nears, the Progressive Conservatives of Manitoba seem to have switched their strategy. They are now campaigning on their opposition to searching the Prairie Green landfill. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports on this change in focus so late in the campaign.
Protesters outside PC leader Heather Stefanson's Tuxedo office, decrying the way her party's campaigning for votes on its reluctance to search for the remains of two First Nations women police believe to be the victims of a serial killer.
These are my sister's remains in a landfill. It's hard enough that I have to stand in front of these cameras and grieve while fight to get her home. I don't need stuff added on.
Stefanson initially said no to a search in July. Now, trailing the NDP in the polls, the PCs are drawing attention to their continuing opposition. Stefanson made the landfill search her first question to the NDP's Wab Canoe in a televised debate last week.
Why are you willing to put $184 million and Manitoba workers at risk for a search without a guarantee?
PCs then took out this full-page ad in the Saturday Free Press. Stand firm, says the ad, and below a photo of Stefanson. For health and safety reasons, the answer on the landfill dig just has to be no. Chief Kyra Wilson of Long Plain First Nation, home community for the missing women, calls the ad disgusting, sick, and hurtful.
Why do the Conservatives feel the need to use, the family's pain and the loss and the grief to convey any type of messaging?
One PC MLA says this is something they're hearing at the door.
It has become an issue in the campaign that people are asking about at the door, and I hear it at the door. I've been door knocking in Winnipeg a fair bit, and so people deserve to have a clear understanding of where the parties are at on it.
Another PC MLA blames other unnamed political parties for talking about the landfill.
I think it's something that has been made political by others, and they're bringing it back to the forefront. And they want to keep talking about this because this is their agenda.
The NDP calls the PC's new focus on the landfill search disappointing and a dog whistle.
It's quite honestly quite unfortunate that the PCs have chosen to go down this path.
I spoke to two political scientists today, and they said the PCs may be trying to shore up sagging support. I also spoke to pollster Mary Agnes Welch. She said there is opposition to the landfill search out there. The question is whether that opposition is strong enough to motivate people to vote. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We are in the final push before Manitobans elect a next premier next week. CBC's Alana Cole shows us tonight how the provincial parties are kicking off this last week of the election campaign.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Just over a week to go, NDP leader Wab Canoe is staying on his healthcare message. He says an NDP government would hire more allied health professionals, like physiotherapists, social workers, and occupational therapists, part of their $500 million recruitment plan.
Not only do allied healthcare professionals also offer preventative healthcare in our communities, they help patients in hospital get on the path to recovery faster.
Progressive Conservatives spent the day showing Manitobans how they'll tackle safety. Kelvin Gertson, the PC candidate for Steinbach, announced a fund addressing retail and hotel crime, money to help pay for security upgrades and vandalism.
So this $3 million annual fund is something that I know has been asked for from retailers, restaurateurs, and others as one step in a preventative measure and a responsive measure. You'll hear of other measures this week.
A $1 million promise to crack down on street safety. The money would be used on technology to monitor noise levels and identify high speed.
We're talking about those individuals that break the law, that put lives in danger and take to the streets of Winnipeg and drag race.
And in Brandon, leader Heather Stefanson pledged $2 million to improve downtown safety, including money to expand Brandon's downtown community safety partnership. While the parties are still trying to win over voters, thousands of Manitobans have already decided. Advance polls opened Saturday. Elections Manitoba says over 69,000 people have cast their ballot as of this afternoon. And that includes Ryan Yukno.
Pretty important because really we want our voices to be heard. And, if a lot of people kind of say that, they didn't want this person elected, well, here's your chance to get your voice heard.
The Manitoba Liberals didn't have any public announcements today. The party says leader Dougal Lamont headed to Brandon to support candidates in that area, and he's participating in a debate happening there tomorrow. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
One person is dead following a crash at King Edward and Inkster Boulevard in Winnipeg. Police say it happened around 11:30 last night. 4 people were in that car when it crashed into a light standard. They were taken to hospital, with one of the people dying of their injuries. The others are in stable condition. Investigators are looking into whether speed or alcohol were factors in the crash. Police would like to hear from any witnesses or people who have video or dash camera footage of the crash. A Verdon area couple is re-embracing life on the farm. As so many Manitobans do, Loranda and Robert Bailey had to leave home to attend school in Winnipeg. But as CBC's Josh Crabb shows us, years later, they're back in the southwest Manitoba town and making it work.
Their day often starts at the crack of dawn and usually doesn't end until after dusk. Robert and Loranda Bailey are farmers just west of Verdon. They have chickens, produce grain and oil seeds, and raise cattle. But that's not all they do.
We don't burn the candle at both ends just for fun. There's a passion there, so.
In addition to farming, Robert works full-time as a field operator in southwest Manitoba's oil industry. Loranda, who studied agriculture after high school, left her previous job at a grain elevator to take a job at their local library. She's now a farmer and the head librarian in Verdon, a job that involves running 2 other libraries in surrounding communities.
It was just kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was ready to get out of my job at the grain elevator because the company switched and I was not happy there anymore. And there was a position at the library and I had always wanted to work at a library, so it was good timing.
Robert and Loranda lived in Winnipeg 7 years before returning to the country, leaving the city behind to get back to their rural roots.
Come on!
With 100 head of cattle and more than 800 hectares of cropland, country living for the Baileys means juggling a hectic schedule. In the morning, the couple feeds cows and their goat Ferguson, animals who graze on pasture land near their home.
Come here, birds.
Back in their yard, they also have a turkey named Eunice, a goose called Celeste, and a duck named Harley, and various chickens.
Being out here, I was able to get animals, which was the biggest draw for me.
During harvest, Robert and Loranda get home from their day jobs and go back to work in the field. Some of the land they farm belongs to Loranda's parents, and they work together to seed in spring and get the crop off in the fall.
This would be the busiest time of year, because for seeding, I do take holidays for seeding, so that frees me up completely just to seed. But with the dew in the mornings and the unpredictable weather, harvest just doesn't warrant me taking vacation because I'll take holidays and then we'll get rain and then we won't do anything for 3 days. So it's just better just to juggle.
The Baileys aren't alone. According to the latest census of agriculture, around 32% of farmers work full-time in addition to farming. Another 16% hold down part-time jobs off the farm.
In the busy seasons, we do the most pressing things first. We're okay with having a messy house so that we can get all the other things accomplished.
Most other farmers they know also work other jobs, something the Baileys say helps them live a more stable lifestyle. That's because growing conditions and what they're paid for their crop can be quite unpredictable.
The city was just too busy, and we grew up in this area, and it was just, this is what we know and this is what we love.
Now they're the ones who are busy, but they feel the pace of life is slower in the country. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Verdon.
More than 1,000 people gathered on the steps of the Manitoba Legislative Building yesterday for a rally for trans youth. It came on the heels of a demonstration last Wednesday where hundreds of parents called for trans and gay issues to be removed from school curriculum. Here's what some of the people who attended yesterday's rally had to say.
It's so important that people come out and support us because it's been going on for generations that we've been fighting for this. And I think that more people need to educate themselves and learn more about the community and who we are.
There's a lot going on, a lot of protests, counter-protests. It's exhausting having your human rights challenged every time there's an election. So yeah, I think we're just all generally very tired.
Yeah, everything is really tough kind of everywhere, especially for like trans folks. So it's really important to show up, like to show support and stuff.
I have queer family, queer friends. It is just imperative that we show up for ourselves and for our relatives, people we love, people we care about, even the strangers, because we are all community. We all have to come together and care about each other because there are people here who want to see us dead for existing as we are. So it's imperative that we come out here and do what we can to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones.
I think, we could all just be a lot better to each other in general.
Meteorologist John Sauter joins us now. We are having a lovely September.
Yeah, we're just talking about frost because a lot of people still have gardens in and tomatoes and that sort of thing. Oh, the tomatoes.
Oh,
They're
the
so
tomatoes.
Good, aren't they?
Are.
Really good. Yeah, so our first frost, the average date of the first frost is sometime in September, but we have no chance of seeing any frost here in southern Manitoba until, sometime in October. And of course, September ends this weekend, but it's mild, very mild, and I'll be showing you that. Lots of that here in the next couple of seconds. And look at the dew point, up around 14 degrees. That's a fair bit of humidity, actually, and that's a fair bit of moisture in our atmosphere. We got to 21 today in the Winnipeg area, and we've been sort of hovering around 20 to 21 through the afternoon. East winds at 17. So if you had a chance to get outside, you probably really enjoyed being in shorts and a T-shirt again here as we get into late September. Now, late in the afternoon here, we do have a little bit of cloud drifting across the city. You can see that here on satellite image. None of this cloud is really dropping any raindrops, at least according to radar. Now, that may change. If you see a couple raindrops fall out of a cloud, you can see something just looks like that, but it won't last. If you have outdoor plans tonight, don't cancel them for any kind of dark cloud that you see. On Futurecast, it just looks like a clear to a partly cloudy sky across the south tonight. Into Tuesday morning, a little bit of cloud across the far north, but a lot of that is gone by the time we get into the afternoon, and we can enjoy some sunshine here once again across southern Manitoba, northwestern Ontario, and out into southern Saskatchewan as well. Check out Wednesday. Lots of sunshine as well, although late Wednesday we start to see a few showers in the extreme northwest, and we'll start to see a little bit more cloud cover here on Thursday, likely in through the later part of the day where we could see some showers. Now you look at the upper level atmosphere here, and this upper ridge, all the warmer colors you see, the milder air will last right through into the weekend, at least here in southern Manitoba. As we get into Saturday around supper time, we're still in the mild stuff here, but the chillier air is across northern Manitoba and starting to settle into BC and Alberta and parts of Saskatchewan. It really extends itself well out into eastern Canada, though. Very mild conditions. Some of the mildest air still will be with us on the weekend. However, I do think that by the weekend, we will start to see more cloud cover and a higher chance for some rain showers as well here on Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, maybe even a thunderstorm. 11 the low tonight. The normal low is 4. 12 degrees in the morning with mainly sunny skies, and then on into the afternoon, we're looking at a whopping 23 under sunny skies and southeast winds at 20 kilometers per hour. And it's not just warm here in the south, it'll be warm in the north as well. As we look at the days to come, even though we start to see a few showers late in the day on Thursday, we're still looking at 20 to 21 degrees for daytime highs here for the rest of this week. Janet?
Not bad at all. Nice and mild. Thanks, John. We'll check in with you a bit later.
You bet.
The Prairie Comics Festival took place in Winnipeg this past weekend. It was a free event showcasing independent comics, magazines, and the creative minds behind them. CBC stopped by the West End Cultural Centre to check it out.
comic scene has always been here, and it's really important for us to put on an event like this so that we can spotlight that community. Comics themselves have just become this really wonderful medium of expression using words and pictures. We really want the community to exist and to grow. There is just so much potential for story, and it is just never ending. The angles and the style and the means of expression that people can bring to the table. Now that independent comics can reach more people, like usually via like comic apps like Webtoon or even published on Instagram, that there are more platforms for people to get their work out there.
Robots, I like anything with robots. So most of my stories revolve around an adventure with a large mech and a small human counterpart. I've self-published 11 books now. My 12th is on the way. It's a shared universe, so I have a bunch of different stories kind of set in the same world, but they're all completely different. They're all kind of one and done. So I've worked on some Marvel films, I've worked with Netflix, I've worked with Blizzard, and it's all because of going to Comic-Cons and meeting other artists and being inspired by them. And yeah, I couldn't recommend it more. If you want to get into illustration as a career, these kinds of events are like the best way to do it.
This is Siegfried Dragonslayer. It's a fantasy graphic novel that is a reimagining of the Volsunga saga from Norse mythology. And what makes it quite unique is that it's been painted with coffee, which gives it that unique kind of copper tone that runs throughout the book as well. And it was the recent nominee for the Graphic Novel of the Year award from the Book Publishers Association of Alberta.
So a lot of these folks are self-publishing them, and coming to a festival like this is how they can reach their community and find new readers that actually need to engage with them. You know, you do kind of get used to reading like commercial comics where they're all very samey in style because that's just what the market demands. But when you come here, you get to engage with work that you've never seen before.
And doing these smaller shows that are just starting out, where the organizers still really care about the content and the creators, it's just like a cozy, warm hug.
Coming up, CBC's Marcy Marcusa sits down with Progressive Conservative Party leader Heather Stefanson. It's the second installment of our one-on-one interviews with Manitoba's party leaders, and it's coming up after the break. A week from tomorrow is Election Day here in Manitoba. In order to get to know the leadership candidates better, we're bringing you a series of one-on-one interviews with each of them, each of the leaders of Manitoba's political parties. CBC's Marcy Marcusa sat down with PC leader Heather Stefanson, who's hoping to lead her party to its first provincial election win under her watch.
Heather Stefanson was first elected as the MLA for Tuxedo in 2000, and she became leader of Manitoba's Progressive Conservatives in late 2021. She was sworn in as the province's first woman premier. Before getting into politics, she was an investment advisor. Let's welcome to CBC Heather Stefanson, leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here with you, Marcy.
Thank you for making time for us. So if you score a victory in this election, as you're well aware, you would become the first woman ever to win the role of Manitoba Premier in a general election. You grew up around politics. Your father, you watched him run for office. What would achieving that mean to you?
Well, I think it's great for Manitobans, frankly. I mean, to have a first elected woman Premier of Manitoba. I think it's important. It sends a message to our daughters and to all those young women out there that they can do this, they can achieve it as well. And so, but you know, I really want to just focus on getting things done, obviously. And so if I do get that opportunity again, there's lots of exciting things happening in Manitoba that we're looking forward to getting done.
What would it mean to you personally if you were to look in the mirror the next day, just you with yourself? We all have those personal moments of doubt, and we all have those personal moments of pride. What would you say to yourself if this happens?
I think it's exciting, and I would say I'm not someone who likes to pat myself on the back too often, but you know, I think it sends a good message for young girls and in our province, and I would say that I'd be quite proud.
Now, there are some challenges around some of the polls. I know that when it comes to leadership, women overwhelmingly approved of NDP leader Wab Kinew. This is a recent Angus Reid poll, particularly women aged 18 to 54. Why do you think your approval rating is struggling with that group?
Well, I think that, you know, I mean, polls really don't matter to me at all. The only one that matters is on election day. But I think, you know, as I'm getting out and meeting people more, they're getting to know me and who I am. And it could be just that people don't really know who I am. You know, what they see is what, you know, they see in maybe the free press or they see in the media. And they don't necessarily know who I am. I mean, I care very, very deeply about people. And I think maybe sometimes that message just doesn't get across to people.
How frustrating is that?
You know, it's hurtful, I think, at times, like where it's, you know, it is frustrating where people don't really know who I am, but I'm trying to get out and meet as many people as I possibly can. And you know, I think I'm just like everyone else. I get up in the morning. I walk my dogs. I spend time with my family and I go to work, and just like everyone else. And so, you know, I would like to get to know people a little bit more, I think.
Let's move to the promises. You made a lot of promises during the campaign around tax cuts. You're promising to balance the budget by 2025. How much spending will you have to cut to make that work?
So what we're focused on is growing our economy. We've got our Vision 2030, taking Manitoba to 2 million people strong, making Manitoba a hab province. There's so many exciting things businesses that are looking to come to Manitoba, relocate to Manitoba, coming from other countries to Manitoba. We've got about 64 projects on the go right now. 13 of those are very close to actually coming to fruition. Some of those businesses are already locating in Manitoba. That's how we're going to grow our economy. And as part of that, it makes life more affordable for Manitobans. We can give some of that money back to Manitobans by the way of longer-term tax relief.
Are you saying that you won't cut spending if you're reelected?
No. As a matter of fact, we are looking at more record investments in healthcare and education. Just over last year alone, a 9% increase to healthcare, the budget, 6.1% to education, and families is almost 12% increase. So that's more money for those social services that Manitobans need, want, and deserve.
But if that means that everything's tied to the economic growth that you've been talking about, are the projections really tied to 2 million people? Because it seems pretty unlikely. If you look at our history, isn't it a dangerous thing to rely on?
So I think what's exciting is that we're setting a vision for Manitoba, and that hasn't been done in the past.
But the vision won't pay, right? If you need the economic growth to pay for everything, to avoid the cuts.
Our economy is the third fastest growing in Canada right now, which is really exciting. It hasn't always been there. But what's exciting is that other businesses are looking to Manitoba. Businesses are looking to Manitoba because of our clean, green hydroelectric power. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's so exciting, and we just need to keep that momentum going.
So you're confident that this population growth that you're hanging your hat on for this is going to happen?
I'm confident. I think we need to set those visions and those goals, and we'll strive to achieve them. Absolutely.
Let's talk about healthcare. Why should people trust you and your party to fix the problems that are currently in our healthcare system?
Well, we know what the challenges are in our healthcare system, Marcy. It's health human resources primarily, and it's nothing that is unique to Manitoba. It's right across the country. And we've embarked on a very aggressive, recruitment, retention, and training program, and more than $400 million to recruit 2,000 new healthcare professionals in Manitoba. We have achieved that target. That was just last November, and we achieved it, the end of August. So we're making headway, but we know there's more work to be done.
But if someone looks at what you've done and they see the issues that are there, and they don't trust you moving forward, what do you say to them at the door to regain the trust that you, in fact, will be the right party moving forward?
Well, I think the challenge is that what my opponents are talking about, is not going to be a quick fix. There is no quick fix to healthcare. Healthcare, it didn't break overnight, and it can't be fixed overnight. It's long-term solutions, but we are already on the path through our recruitment, retention, and training. Like, I know Manitobans are suffering, but it's others across the country as well, where this is a challenge right across the country. After COVID, it was a very, very challenging time, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
I want to turn to parental rights. So you made an announcement about this in August, and at that time you were asked if the rights would include informing parents if a child expresses a different gender than what they were assigned at birth. And your answer was yes, which you followed up by saying there would be consultation. Mm-hmm. When you said yes, what did you mean?
Well, I meant yes, that would be part of the consultation process, because if parents are wanting to know that will all be flushed out in the consultation process. So again, we want to hear from parents what they want. We believe that parents know what's best for their children. Like, parents, I'm a mom. I love my kids. I want to know what's going on at school. That's what we're hearing from parents at the door. They don't want to be left in the dark. They just want to be part of the education for their kids.
But specifically, what are the rights in schools that parents don't have currently?
So right now, I would say, like, it is part of the Public Schools Act, but that was 30 years ago that was put in place for parental rights. Things have changed since then. Technology has changed. We know that people have their phones and social media and all of these things. Bullying has taken on a whole new meaning now. So we need to have those discussions and make sure that we're upgrading the Public Schools Act. So we're hearing from parents that they just simply want to have more of a say and be informed of what's going on in the schools with their kids.
But educators overwhelmingly say that parents do have a voice. They are informed. So why are we questioning this in Manitoba? Because we're hearing it at the door that parents don't feel that they are. And so, when you hear that from that many people, it's incumbent upon you to take action, I think. So, how far are you willing to go? Are you looking and prepared to follow in Saskatchewan's footsteps? No, we're looking at our own strategy here, which is focused on just making sure that parents are informed of what's going on in the school. They care about their kids. They love their kids. They just want to be a part of that. What's your personal view? My personal view is that parents should be informed. And they should be informed even if all parents should be informed, even if a student's at school and has expressed something to a guidance counselor. I think it's incumbent upon the schools to inform the parents of what's going on. If there's a challenge with a child, then they need to inform the parents. The parents need to be involved in that.
parents know what's best for their kids, and so I think it's I think it's incumbent upon everyone to work together so that that child has the best opportunity for a successful future.
What about students who don't have a safe place to land at home? They don't have that safe parental guidance. What do you say to those families? And actually, what do you say to those students that are deeply concerned about this?
Well, what I would say is that if teachers think that there's a challenge at home, that they should take that up at home. I take that up with the parents as well. They need to involve the parents, I think, and so that's what we're hearing from parents out there. And so, I think it's right. They should have a say.
You started by saying, we started talking at the beginning about, you said you wish people would maybe know you a little bit more. So what would people be surprised to know about Heather Stefanson?
Well, I'm the same as everybody else. As I was saying, I get up in the morning, I have breakfast sometimes. I didn't this morning, but but it's just, I walk my dogs just like other people do, and I deeply care about people. I love Manitoba. I love Manitobans. And I just, like everyone else who lives in this beautiful province, I just want it to be better.
Thank you, Heather Stefanson. Good luck on October 3rd.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Marcy.
To federal politics now, where the Speaker of the House of Commons has issued a formal apology for inviting a World War II veteran to Parliament Hill. It's since been discovered he was a Nazi. The story after the break. House of Commons Speaker Anthony Rota is facing multiple calls to resign. He has apologized for inviting a Second World War veteran, someone who'd fought in a Nazi unit, to Parliament on Friday. It happened during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit. As Catherine Cullen reports, the mistake has since become a source of international embarrassment.
The weight on the Speaker's shoulders was apparent as he headed in to acknowledge a serious mistake.
I wish to apologize to the House, and I'm deeply sorry that I've offended many with my gesture and remarks.
It happened on Friday during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit. Anthony Rota honored Yaroslav Hunka, a 98-year-old Second World War veteran, from his riding.
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service.
What Rota says he did not know is the man he invited Parliament to applaud had been part of an SS unit under the command of the Nazis. Today, Karina Gould, the descendant of Holocaust survivors, was first to respond to Rota's apology.
I think this hurt all of us in Parliament, and I'll say that personally, I feel particularly hurt by this.
The NDP went further.
Ultimately, this was an unforgivable error. Sadly, I don't believe you can continue in this role. Regrettably, I must respectfully ask that you step aside.
Conservatives are laying all the blame at the feet of the government.
If that basic level of vetting was not done by the government, that raises serious concerns.
It was my decision, and I apologize profusely. I cannot tell you how regretful it is.
Russia has been quick to pounce. A Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson pointing to Canada's applause for Hunka and talking about the West glorifying Nazism. All of it an effort to justify Russia's war on Ukraine.
Obviously, it's extremely upsetting that this happened. I think it's going to be really important that all of us push back against Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation, and continue our steadfast and unequivocal support for Ukraine.
The Speaker hasn't indicated that he plans on going anywhere, but he's not the only one shamed by this. Canada's Parliament applauding a Nazi-aligned war veteran is making international news. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
Dozens of members from Ottawa's Sikh community gathered today to protest in front of the Indian High Commission. This comes a week after Canada's Prime Minister alleged that government agents from India were behind the killing of a Canadian Sikh activist in BC. New Delhi has rejected the allegations as absurd. The protesters are demanding an investigation into the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in June. Some were seen flying flags promoting the Khalistan separatist movement. There were also small demonstrations today in front of Indian consulates in Vancouver and in Toronto. 2023 has been Canada's worst wildfire year on record, an extremely difficult one for firefighters on the front lines. Many end up suffering long-term health effects. Wildland firefighters in many parts of this country struggle to get the same compensation afforded city firefighters. Katie Nicholson reports.
This one's 2017.
Kim LeBlanc lugs heavy binders from a decade-long fight to get compensation for her husband. Tom LeBlanc fought wildfires for 35 years.
He loved it. He was like a Dalmatian. He'd sit on the front seat of that fire truck and wait for the call.
But when he developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, he found out he wasn't covered by the same legislation as other firefighters in Ontario.
And the legislation specifically excluded forest firefighters.
Across Canada, if municipal firefighters develop cancers associated with the job, they're covered by presumptive legislation, making it easier to get compensation. But outside of BC, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Quebec, wildfire fighters are excluded from that legislation. Tom LeBlanc died in 2010. Kim promised him she'd keep fighting.
He said, nobody should have to go through this. This is his medical record.
In 2018, the Workers' Compensation Board finally agreed Tom's work was a probable significant contributing factor in his illness.
I always expected to be woohoo and throw a party, and I was not. It was awful. It's never going to bring him back.
You do breathe a lot of smoke and eat a lot of ash.
Former wildfire fighter Simon Chateauvert says he had nowhere to turn when he lost a kidney to cancer, something that would have been covered if he were an urban firefighter.
You know, it's my missing a kidney because of the firefighting.
And as the evidence that wildfire smoke is dangerous grows, change is coming.
It's just been so in-your-face obvious in recent years that this particular subset of firefighters is facing such severe threats that it can't be ignored.
That's Tom sitting there.
For families who've had to battle for coverage, this message to governments.
Stand up, put your big boy pants on, and let's see how we fix this.
So others don't have to go through what her family did. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
John joins us once again. You know, it's been a while since we heard about the forest fire situation. It was in the news all the time earlier in the summer, but where are we now in terms of forest fires?
It is not over yet, not by a long shot. Have a look at this map, and this is updated today from Natural Resources Canada. The larger red dots, that's over 1,000 hectare in size, and those are the ones that are still out of control. So you can see Western Canada is really the focus here of the fires, and well to the north up into Yukon as well, but lots of this still going on in Alberta and BC. So we are not out of this yet. You think of wildfire season as a summer thing as opposed to a fall thing, but this one is a summer thing extending into the fall season. Right now, 20 at the airport and over at the Forks, 19 in Morris and Steinbach. Very warm temperatures for this time of year. We should be at around 15 degrees for a daytime high. This time of day at this time of year, we should be more like 10 degrees. But look at these temperatures, even over into Kenora, Red Lake, 20, 21 degrees up to the north, warm as well. It's 20 right now in Churchill, 19 in Thompson and Norway House, and a 22 right now in Flin Flon. And as you'll see in the forecast for tomorrow, this kind of weather is going to continue, not just in the south, but across the north as well. Tonight looks like this in northwestern Ontario. We do have some late day cloud moving through, so this will extend into the overnight period. And here in the Red River Valley and southeastern Manitoba, it'll be a partly cloudy sky. Lows anywhere from 10 to 13 degrees and 11 here in the Winnipeg area. 9s out west, 11s and 12s for Portage, Morden and Winkler. And again, partly cloudy conditions, and across the north, very mild as well. Even 12s and 13s in the west, and a double-digit low in Thompson and Churchill, well, all of northern Manitoba. And then you look at tomorrow, 17 in Churchill, otherwise 22s and 23s, and a sunny 25 in Island Lake tomorrow. If that happens, that will break a record. The old record in Island Lake is 23.9, set back in 1997. Now, having said that, a lot of these locations haven't been keeping records for a really, really long time, so it's a little easier to get a broken temperature record, but expect to see some of that tomorrow with numbers that look like that across the north. Here in the south, not quite record-breaking, but still very warm, 21 to 23 or 24, as is the case in Swan River tomorrow. And look at the sunshine across the southeast tomorrow and off into northwestern Ontario as well, while we're seeing temperatures tomorrow anywhere from 21 to 23. Janet?
Thanks very much, John.
You're welcome.
Researchers are looking at whether robots can help people deal with loneliness. They're pairing a group of seniors in BC with specially designed warm and cuddly robots to see if they can foster companionship.
It's fun company, you know, kind of. You don't have to feed them, you don't have to clean them, you don't have to take them for a walk. Perfect.
These social robots, Kiwi and Mango, are a big hit with the residents at this West Vancouver retirement residence. Their robotic software can learn and mimic human emotion, recognize faces, even reach up for a hug. They're at the center of a study examining whether artificial intelligence can help support older people. A lot of countries are studying this now. A tentative agreement has been reached on one half of the labor dispute that's brought Hollywood film production to a standstill. What concessions could writers receive? That story after the break. The end could be in sight for the Hollywood writers' strike. A tentative deal has been reached between the Writers Guild of America and the major film and TV studios in the United States. But members still need to approve this tentative 3-year agreement next week. And as CBC's Sam Sampson reports, while writers may be coming back soon, actors are still on the picket lines.
After almost 5 months on the picket line, writers who make you laugh.
I would say that teaching second grade is no picnic.
Didn't I see your class having a literal picnic the other day?
Cry.
Something I've been wanting to talk to you both about.
Or just get you amped. Could soon be back to work. Last night, the Writers Guild of America reached a tentative agreement with studios.
The mood, as soon as the tentative deal was announced, was one of ecstasy. I heard that at certain film festivals, there were cheers going on. Also on social media, we saw a vast flurry of tweets. I think a lot of people have suffered because of the strike.
Details from the deal itself will come out in a few days, but we do know what the writers wanted. Better contracts, protection against AI affecting their jobs, and residuals for their shows that are popular on streaming sites. It's not a new concept to get paid more for successful art, but doing so now would rely on data that streaming sites keep secret to stay competitive.
Streamers led by Netflix are going to be very, very reluctant to release any of this data, and any kind of a formula that's going to be crafted to pay the writers based on the popularity of shows when they're streaming is going to have to be very carefully crafted. It's going to be a very tricky formula.
While writers may be back soon, the script hasn't yet been written for actors. They're still picketing, fighting for similar wins. Some are hopeful the writers' success will trickle over to the actors, but that remains unclear. The Writers' Union asks its members to join them on picket lines while their own deal gets ratified.
Well, it's great to have you here. The show.
Nighttime and daytime talk shows are expected to be the first back on your screen. Other, more scripted shows could take weeks, maybe months to get back on the air, all depending when they shut down production and on when the Actors' Union pens the final act in its strike. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Washington.
Some doctors are calling for women to be offered take-home kits to screen for cervical cancer. The guidelines published today in the Canadian Medical Association Journal aim to improve early detection and reduce discrimination in healthcare. Health reporter Christine Burak explains.
It's an awkward test that checks for cancer, and doctors say too many women are avoiding it.
For many people, the PAP is uncomfortable, it's a pain, but there are some people where it is a real barrier. They're not going to get testing done. And then we insert it. And
a PAP test sweeps up cells inside the cervix to test them for cancer. Data shows, among others, women who are Black, disabled, or suffered sexual trauma are less likely to get a PAP. Now, a new guideline published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal makes 16 recommendations, including offer self-testing.
Once I've collected my sample,
so women can screen themselves for HPV, the virus that causes cervical cancer.
People are recognizing they can do this, they're capable of it. So let's take this one step further, and now let's provide people with the option to do their own vaginal sample.
We've delivered over 10,000 kits, and we've got lots of experience now on acceptability.
Only British Columbia offers self-testing kits. They include a swab and test tube that can be mailed in for analysis. In Australia, all women now have the choice to self-collect their own cervical screening test sample. Evidence shows a self-collected sample is just as accurate at detecting HPV as a sample taken by a doctor. Experts say screening more women for HPV alongside vaccines could be a game changer.
I think we have the chance to actually eliminate a cancer. I mean, that is just tremendous.
I think that for women, it's a really, really good news. The sad part of it is that we've been waiting for years.
She'd like to see self-testing kits made available in pharmacies across the country. The new guidelines also recommend talking to patients about colorectal cancer at age 45 instead of 50. The goal here is to get more people into screening sooner so they can detect cancers earlier or even prevent them altogether. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift are still to come tonight. Stay with us.
There's what the parties want you to know.
Don't listen to our opponents. Look at the facts.
Heather Stefanson is trying to divide Manitobans.
The NDP has been in lockstep with Heather Stefanson's PC policies.
And then there's the reality. You're about to elect your next provincial government. Trust CBC News to find the facts before you vote. Manitoba votes on CBC.
And here is your 7-day forecast. Mild and sunny weather ahead for the next couple of days. Thursday does get a bit breezy, about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, and there is a chance of evening showers. But we keep with the warmer than normal weather right through the weekend, although the weekend should be cloudier, and it does look like we could see a little bit more in the way of rain. A 21-year-old woman has made history playing for the University of Manitoba Bison's football team.
Pretty cool. Maya Turner has become the first woman to play and score in a regular season university sports football game. Here is your Daily Lift.
First game ever played by a female. And she went out there and friggin' nailed it and kicked the game-winning field goal.
Bison's head coach Brian Dobie giving his post-game speech after Turner kicked 2 field goals, including the winner in the 27-24 victory against the University of Regina Rams this weekend. She says it was a rush. Maya Turner started her sports career playing soccer. She admits she's faced a number of barriers being a woman in a male-dominated sport like football, but she says the U of M Bisons have been very supportive. In fact, John, you know, the CFL Hall of Fame has already reached out to the Bisons wanting memorabilia for their Hall of Fame, like the game ball.
That's fantastic.
Imagine she could be in this Hall of Fame already.
Yeah, and you could hear the support in the dressing room from the other players, too. That was fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a nice way to end the newscast. Thank you for being with us this evening. Have a great night. We'll see you at 11.
Good night.